Bonjour et bienvenue to Parlez-vous français? The podcast that's not afraid to stumble through a few verb conjugations with you. I'm your host, Mia, and I promise to keep the French as unpretentious as a croissant fresh from the oven. Today, we're diving headfirst into something super practical, something that can make or break your trip from tourist to almost a local, talking about your country and navigating those oh-so-important shopping situations in French.
Bonjour, Mia. It's Lucas here, and I'm thrilled to be joining you. I specialize in helping folks find their voice in a new language, and let me tell you, mastering everyday conversations is where the real magic happens.
Magic is definitely the word, Lucas, because let's be honest, pointing at things in a shop and hoping for the best only gets you so far, right? Today, we're going to connect all of that from saying where you're from to ordering a baguette with confidence. It's all about making you feel ready to speak French in real-life shopping scenarios.
Exactly, Mia. We'll break down the vocabulary, some essential shopping phrases, food items, even quantities. And we'll weave it all together with real-life dialogues so you can actually hear how it all sounds and flows. The goal is to equip our listeners, no matter their level, with the tools and the courage to speak French confidently, especially when they're out and about, maybe looking for that perfect souvenir, or, just a really good cheese.
Oh, cheese. My absolute kryptonite. So let's just dive right in then. To kick things off, we're talking about introducing yourself and your country. It sounds simple, but it's the foundation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Before you even think about buying that adorable little beret, you need to be able to say hello and mention where you hail from. So, for example, if someone asks you, d'où venez-vous, which means, where do you come from? A simple and effective response is, je viens des États-Unis. Or, je viens du Canada. It's straightforward, and gets the conversation rolling.
Okay, so that's a really clear starting point. Je viens de, and then your country. But what if you want to be a little more specific? Like, not just the country, but maybe the region or the city? Does it get complicated?
It's actually quite intuitive. You can add the city after the country. So, for instance, if you're from New York City in the U.S., you'd say, je viens des États-Unis de New York. Or for Montreal in Canada, je viens du Canada de Montréal. It's all about building on that initial phrase, adding layers of detail as you feel more comfortable. The key is to start with the country, which is the more general identifier.
That makes so much sense. It's like you give them the big picture, then you can zoom in. So for our listeners, if you're from, say, Australia, it would be je viens d'Australie. And if you're from Sydney, then you'd add Dick Sydney. Gotcha. So when we're talking about the input requirement of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations, this basic introduction is crucial, right? Because you're establishing that initial connection.
Precisely, Mia. It breaks the ice. Imagine you walk into a small boutique. The owner might ask, bonjour, vous venez d'où? And your confident reply, bonjour, je viens d'Italie, Jerome. Immediately sets a friendly tone. They might then respond with, ah, Rome, j'adore l'Italie. This exchange builds rapport before you even ask about the price of that lovely scarf.
Oh, I love that. It's like you're not just a transaction, you're a person with a story. So, beyond just saying where you're from, are there any other common introductory phrases that would be super helpful when you first meet someone, perhaps in a shop setting?
Definitely. After je viens de, a very polite and common follow-up is enchanté. If you're male, you say enchanté. If you're female, enchanté. It means pleased to meet you. It's a small detail, but it adds a lot of politeness. And then you might follow up with a simple comment allez-vous, meaning how are you? Although in a more casual shop setting, KVA is perfectly acceptable and more common.
Oh, okay. So enchanté and then KVA. That sounds manageable. And it's always good to know those little politeness boosters. It feels like these small phrases are the building blocks for genuine connection, which then makes the whole shopping experience feel less intimidating.
They are absolutely the building blocks. Think of it as laying the foundation. Without these initial greetings and introductions, everything that follows, asking for items, inquiring about prices, making a purchase, can feel a bit detached. By establishing that friendly connection up front, you're creating a much more positive environment for communication.
Right, so let's solidify this first part. To introduce yourself and your country in French, you say, Je viens de your country. You can add your city after that. Je viens de your country. De your city. And then add a polite enchanté-y, and maybe a casual ka vie to build that initial connection. This directly helps our listeners feel more comfortable speaking French in those very first interactions in a shop. Okay, that's a great start for our first topic. Let's bookmark that and continue after a little pause. All right, welcome back to Parlez-vous français? Before the break, we were talking about introductions and setting a friendly tone when you first encounter someone, especially in a shopping context. Now, let's pivot to the heart of the matter for many shoppers, finding exactly what you need. We're talking vocabulary, specific shopping phrases, and getting down to the nitty-gritty of items and quantities. This is really where the input of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations comes alive.
And this is where it can feel a little daunting for learners, right? You're in a shop, you see something you like, but how do you actually ask for it? How do you describe it? So let's start with some basic requests. If you see something, anything, and you want to ask about it, the most versatile phrase is Je voudrais, followed by what you're looking for. It means, I would like.
Okay, je voudrais. That sounds pretty useful. It's polite too, isn't it? So if I wanted a scarf, I'd say je voudrais une écharpe. Is that right?
Exactly. Je voudrais une écharpe. Now, let's say you're in a boulangerie, a bakery, and you want a specific bread. You might say, Je voudrais une baguette, or maybe a croissant. Je voudrais une croissant. The key here is that un is for feminine nouns, like asterisk écharpe, and un is for masculine nouns, like croissant or pain bread. And then you follow with the item you desire.
The infamous gendered nouns. Okay, so that's a really practical way to introduce it. Je voudrais plus the item with the correct article. So what if you don't know the word for something, but you can see it? Like you point at a beautiful pastry that looks divine, but you have no clue what it's called. What do you do then?
That's a very common scenario. In that case, you can use Je voudrais ceci or Je voudrais cela. Ceci is usually for something closer to you, and cela for something further. You point and say, Je voudrais ceci, s'il vous plaît. It's direct, polite, and uses gestures to bridge the vocabulary gap. And the s'il vous plaît, please, is essential.
Oh, je voudrais ceci. That's brilliant. It's like the universal pointer phrase. So you can use that to get the ball rolling, and then maybe the shopkeeper will tell you the name of it, and you can learn it for next time. Now let's talk about food items, because France and food are basically synonymous. What are some common food items learners might want to ask for, and how do we handle quantities?
Right. So in a boulangerie, besides baguette and croissant, you might want pain au chocolat, chocolate bread, brioche, or perhaps some asterisk patisseries, asterisk in general. In a fromagerie, a cheese shop, you'll find clos, Brie, Roquefort. In a marché market, you'll see mountains of asterisk fruits and asterisk legumes, asterisk fruits, and vegetables. Let's take tomatoes. Clau tomate. If you want a few, you'd say, Je voudrais quelques tomates.
Quelques tomates. Okay. And what about specific amounts? Like if I want 2 of something or maybe a specific weight?
Excellent question. For specific numbers, you use the number directly. So, je voudrais 2 croissants, or 3 pains au chocolat. For weights, especially with cheese or meat, you'd use units like un kilo, a kilo, une livre, a pound, though less common now but still heard, or more often, une tranche, a slice, or un morceau, a piece. So you could ask, Je voudrais un morceau de camembert, s'il vous plaît, or 200 grammes de jambon. That's 200 grams of ham.
200 grams of ham. Wow, that's quite precise. So it's je voudrais plus the number, then the item, or the weight, then the item, de croissants. Un morceau de camembert, 200 grammes de jambon. That's super helpful. It really drills down into that practical application for shopping. And it directly ties back to the input of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations because it gives them concrete phrases to use.
Exactly. And to make it even more vivid, imagine you're at a market stall with beautiful strawberries, called fraises. You can say, Je voudrais une barquette de fraises, s'il vous plaît. A barquette is a small punnet or tray, a common way to buy them. Or if you want a small amount of grapes, les raisins, you might ask, Je voudrais une petite grappe de raisin.
A petite grappe. That's so charmingly specific. It paints a picture. So we've covered introducing yourself and your country, and now we're getting into ordering specific items and quantities. What about when you need something less tangible, like a service, or maybe you're not sure if they even sell something?
Good point. If you need to ask if they have something, you can use avez-vous, meaning do you have. For example, avez-vous du lait? Do you have milk? Or avez-vous des billets pour le musée? Do you have tickets for the museum? If they don't have it, they might say, non, désolé et nous n'en avons pas, meaning, no, sorry, we don't have any. It's good to be prepared for that response.
Right, so avez-vous is the question, and non, désolé et nous n'en avons pas is the potential answer. That's really practical for avoiding frustration. Now, before we move on to dialogues, can you give us maybe a quick rundown of some absolute must-have food item vocabulary that people often look for when they're shopping in France?
Certainly. Beyond bread and cheese, think about la charcuterie, cured meats, il oeuf, eggs, gelée, beurre, butter, la confiture, jam. For drinks, water, still or sparkling, vici fin, wine, vici fin, coffee, vici fin, coffee, ici tea. And for fruits and vegetables, besides those we mentioned, consider s'il pomme, apples, les oranges, si les oranges, les estage, appelen. Apples, si les orange, point. Oron. Remembering the articles, col ax dod meet bis as well. Help with pronunciation and correctness.
Okay, that's a fantastic list. Jolie, la charcuterie, Julie, Julie, Jules, Julie, le, Jules, beurre, Julie, 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 Jules, 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 Julie, 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 vepis. So, to summarize this section, we've learned to use Julie for requests, Julie, ceci, /ci, cela when pointing, and mastered asking for quantities using numbers or weights, like une petite grappe or 200 grammes. We also learned avez-vous to check availability. This is all about giving learners the precise vocabulary and phrases to confidently handle transactions and find what they need in French shops. That boils down to mastering the specifics of the shopping experience. Let's pause here. Welcome back, everyone, to Parlez-vous français? We've covered introductions and ordering specific items and quantities. Now let's bring it all to life with some real-life dialogues. This is where we really see how all those phrases and vocabulary words come together in a shopping situation, directly addressing the input of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations. Lucas, what have you got for us?
All right, let's imagine a scenario in a fromagerie. Our learner, let's call her Sophie, walks in. The shopkeeper greets her. Bonjour, madame. Sophie replies, Bonjour, monsieur. Then, Remembering her introductions, she adds, Je viens d'Allemagne, de Munich. Enchanté.
Oh, I love that she's using those intro phrases right away. So the shopkeeper might respond, Enchanté, madame. Que désirez-vous? What would you like? This is the moment for Sophie to use her new skills.
Indeed. Sophie could then say, Je voudrais un morceau de scie brie, s'il vous plaît. She's pointing and specifying a piece. The shopkeeper, understanding, asks, Comme ceci, madame, holding up a lovely creamy brie. Sophie nods, Oui, parfait.
Okay, so she asked for a piece of brie. What if she wanted to know about another cheese? Like, maybe she sees a strong-smelling one? How would she inquire about that?
She could ask, Et qu'est-ce que c'est que celui-ci? Meaning, and what is this one? Referring to a different cheese. The shopkeeper would then describe it, perhaps saying, Qu'est-ce un roquefort? Il est très fort. That's a roquefort. It's very strong. Then, Sophie can decide if she wants to try it, perhaps asking, Je voudrais un petit morceau de roquefort aussi, s'il vous plaît.
Wow, that's a whole conversation happening. So she's not just pointing, she's asking questions, learning about the cheese. That's exactly what we want for our listeners. So, what if she wanted to buy something by weight, like ham jambon?
In a charcuterie, she'd say, Je voudrais 200 grammes de jambon blanc, s'il vous plaît. The shopkeeper would then ask, Tranche finement? Sliced thinly? Sophie could reply, Oui, finement, s'il vous plaît. This back and forth about preparation is very common.
That's fantastic. It shows how the language is used for nuanced requests. So, let's switch gears to a different setting. Maybe a clothing store, Asterix magasin de vêtements. What kind of phrases would be useful there, especially if you're looking for something specific?
In a clothing store, you might say, Je cherche une robe bleue. I'm looking for a blue dress. Or, Avez-vous ce chemisier en taille M? Do you have this blouse in size M? If you want to try something on, you'd ask, Où sont les cabines d'essayage? Where are the fitting rooms?
Oh, that's perfect. Je cherche, and then the item. And asking about sizes is a big one. Avez-vous si un chemisier en taille M? What if the item isn't there in the right size? What's a common way to ask if they have it in stock, maybe in another color too?
You could ask, Avez-vous cas dans une autre taille? Do you have that in another size? Or Avez-vous cas dans une autre couleur? Do you have that in another color? If they don't have it, they might suggest, Nous pouvons peut-être le commander pour vous. We can perhaps order it for you.
Ordering it for you. That's a great option. So we've seen dialogues in a cheese shop and a clothing store. These examples really illustrate how the phrases we've discussed, introductions, requests, quantities, checking availability, directly translate into confident interactions in French shopping environments. It's not just about isolated words, it's about weaving them into natural conversation. So after all this, essentially the core idea is that through practice with these dialogues, learners can internalize these patterns and feel much more prepared to speak French in daily shopping scenarios. Let's bookmark that and continue after a break. Hello, and welcome back to Parlez-vous français? We've had some great conversations about introductions and making purchases. Now, let's dig a little deeper into some useful expressions and a quick grammar point that will really boost your confidence when shopping. This section is all about adding those little extras that make your French sound more natural and help you navigate situations smoothly, directly enhancing the input of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations.
Absolutely. Beyond the core phrases, there are certain expressions that are incredibly common and useful. For example, when you're at the checkout, after they tell you the total, you might want to ask, Puis-je payer par carte? Can I pay by card? Or if you prefer cash, Je voudrais payer en espèces. I would like to pay in cash. These are practicalities that come up every time.
Oh, paying by card, that's a big one for many travelers. So, puis-je payer par carte? Got it. What about when you're not sure about something? Like, if the price isn't clear, or you didn't quite understand what the shopkeeper said?
That's where pardon or comment come in handy. If you didn't hear or understand, you can say pardon, a simple excuse me, or more specifically, je n'ai pas compris, I didn't understand. And then you can follow up with pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? Can you repeat, please?
Ah, yes, the polite ways to ask for a repeat. Je n'ai pas compris. Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? That's incredibly useful. It avoids that awkward silence. So, we've got payment and clarification covered. Now for a quick grammar focus. What's one small but impactful grammar point that learners often struggle with, but is crucial for shopping?
I'd say it's the use of the partitive article, especially with food and drinks. You know, when you're not talking about a specific countable item, but rather a quantity of something. For example, instead of je voudrais une baguette, which is one specific baguette, if you want some bread in general or a portion of something, you use articles like je du, de l'eau, je der, asterisk, and boles.
Okay, so partitive articles. That sounds a bit abstract. Can you give us like a tangible example, maybe related to shopping?
Think about buying some cheese. You don't usually buy a cheese in the same way you buy a baguette. You buy some cheese. So you'd say, je voudrais du fromage. Des is used for masculine, singular nouns that start with a consonant. If you wanted some ham, it's asterisk du jambon. If you wanted some water, it's je voudrais de l'eau, je veux de l'eau. De l'eau is for masculine or feminine nouns starting with a vowel or silent H. And for feminine nouns like salé de l'eau, salade, it's je voudrais de la salée d'eau.
So, need D for masculine, DLA, serd for feminine, and DUDL, asterisk for vowels or silent H. It's like you're taking a portion out of a larger whole. Like you're not taking the entire loaf of bread, just some of it. Is that a fair way to think about it?
That's a perfect analogy, Mia. Exactly. It's like taking a scoop from a big container of ice cream. You're not taking the whole tub. You're taking some pester ice cream. This is why it's crucial for food items. You rarely say je voudrais le fromage when asking for a piece of cheese at the counter. You say je voudrais du fromage. The same applies to je voudrais du café or je voudrais de la confiture.
That analogy of the ice cream scoop really helps. So it makes those abstract TDL asterisks feel much more concrete. It's about quantity, but an unspecified portion-like quantity. This is so key for food shopping. So to recap this part, we've got useful expressions like asking to pay by card, puis-je payer par carte, and asking for clarification, je n'ai pas compris. Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? And we tackled the partitive articles like Cody fromage or Cody l'eau to talk about unspecified amounts of food and drink. This grammar point really solidifies your ability to handle common shopping requests naturally. So regarding what we've discussed boils down to the practical application of these specific expressions and grammar points to build confidence in real-world shopping scenarios. Let's pause and resume shortly. And we're back for our final segment on Parlez-vous français. We've covered so much ground, from introductions to navigating complex purchases. Now, it's time for a Q&A and a final summary in French. This is where we consolidate everything we've learned and really emphasize the input of helping learners speak French confidently in real shopping situations by encouraging them to practice speaking French in their daily lives.
Excellent. Let's start with a question that often comes up. A listener asks, what if I want to buy a specific item, like a book, and I don't know the title? I just know it's a novel about Paris. How can I ask for that?
That's a great question because it's not always about having the exact word. You'd likely say, je cherche un roman sur Paris. I'm looking for a novel about Paris. You're describing it. Or if you saw it on someone else's table, you could point and say, je voudrais celui-là. I would like that one. using descriptive words like quartoes, chromen, toes, course, sepatenant, catenant, croes, catenant, coes, haspres, course, croes, quartoes, croe is key.
Exactly. And the shopkeeper might then help you. They might ask, quel genre? What genre? Or quel auteur? What author? And you can try to answer with what you know. It's a collaborative effort to find the item.
I love that it's a collaboration. It takes the pressure off having to know everything. So, another question. What's the best way to say how much is it?
The most common and versatile way is ça coûte combien? How much does it cost? You can also use c'est combien? It is how much. Both are perfectly acceptable in everyday shopping. And if you want to be very polite when asking about a specific item you're holding, you can say ceci coûte combien?
Ça coûte combien? Simple, direct, and essential. Okay, so now for our final summary, and let's try to do this in French as a little practice for our listeners. Lucas, what do you think? Can we summarize the key takeaways for confident shopping in French?
Absolument, Mia. Alors, pour parler de votre pays, vous dites « je viens de votre pays ». Pour être plus précis, « je viens de votre pays, de votre ville ». N'oubliez pas d'ajouter « enchanté » et pour la politesse. Quand vous voulez acheter quelque chose, utilisez « je voudrais » suivi de l'article et du nom. Par exemple, je voudrais une baguette OU, je voudrais du fromage. Pour les quantités, utilisez les nombres 2 croissants au lieu des mesures comme un morceau au lieu 200 grammes. Si vous ne savez pas le nom, je voudrais ceci et montrer fonctionne très bien. Pour demander si un magasin a quelque chose, dites avez-vous? Par exemple, avez-vous du lait?
C'est très clair, Lucas. Et n'oubliez pas les expressions utiles comme puis-je payer par carte? Et pour demander de répéter, je n'ai pas compris. Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? Et la grammaire, les articles partitifs, comme ce qui est, would, hood, miserigre, chepel, asterisk, sont importants pour les quantités non spécifiques, surtout pour la nourriture et les boissons. Par exemple, je voudrais de l'eau. Et pour demander le prix, c'est ça coûte combien?
Exactement. Le plus important est de pratiquer. Essayez d'utiliser ces phrases la prochaine fois que vous irez faire les courses, même si c'est dans un magasin de votre pays qui vend des produits français. Chaque petite conversation est une victoire.
Oui, c'est que la pratique rend parfait au moins beaucoup plus confiante. Entendre toutes ces phrases, les dire à voix haute, c'est vraiment la clé. So, that wraps up today's episode of Parlez-vous français? A huge thank you to Lucas for sharing his expertise. And to our listeners, keep practicing, keep speaking, and embrace every opportunity to use your French. That wraps today's episode. Thanks for listening.